I'm Ansel, and
we're part of the Mexico Music Heritage Workshop in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And what's the concept of the shop, I guess? The shop was created by Dr. Peter White, who was former Secretary of Education of the state of Mexico, and a regent for UNM for a number of years, and an English professor here. But he created it in the hopes of having students from different ethnic backgrounds come in, learn how to build violins, and then take those skills back to the community and teach others to learn how to construct instruments. The reasoning behind that is that there's two different views of violin construction in America. And the number one view is the East Coast view, where the Europeans brought in the instruments during the 1700s.
Yeah, much later than what Dr. White is finding out. Yeah. That quite a few instruments were actually made here in the Southwest at least 100 years prior to that.
They had come up from Mexico and the missionaries. So we're learning that heritage, the sort of unknown, I would say more legitimate history of violin construction in America. And we're doing it the same way that the Spaniards lived, where they started these schools and the missions and would teach the indigenous people how to make instruments so they could continue to, I guess the overall hope was for them to continue to push Christianity into the indigenous people through music. There's a lot of Baroque music that has been found from this era, the area that is of that time period that was made for indigenous people to sing and to take part in worship and that kind of stuff. There was a collection of 1,500 instruments. Is that what it is in New Mexico?
That's what they, I think, found so far. Yeah.
So we're missing there's a missing link for us. We can't find the physical evidence of these instruments in New Mexico because a number of things in our history. There's the Pueblo Revolt, where all of the Pueblos stood up and started destroying pretty much everything in the state.
And I think there's a whole bunch of families that have this really close to their hearts. They don't want to, give the instruments away that they've had for so long, so they keep them just in their households and they don't tell anybody about them. And so finding actual evidence is very difficult.
Anything that survived the Pueblo Revolt was taken by the Roman Catholic Church down in Mexico City and put in an annex. They don't really let the public see, so it's hard for us to make the leap that we want to make, but I think we're here trying to construct and build and learn to go back to our communities to give back what White has generously offered to us.
So we set up this program. It's supposed to be a 2.5 semester long course, and it just goes through the entire formation of a violin from start to finish, which is almost all hand work. We're making them exactly like the Jesuits would have made them hundreds of years ago.
We have, I think everyone's at a different stage right now, so we could show you the entire process if you wanted to.
Yeah, we can do that. Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, starting with forms, we use, this is a German technique, the two halved forms?
Yeah, it started as a German technique, but now it's almost widely used.
It's universal now. We have a builder here who does everything by hand that uses a traditional Italian form, which is one piece of wood, but this actually separates. So we form ribs around this form, we put blocks in and form the ribs around it. They look like this. So you can see this is a form that has a rib cage attached, and one half of the form has been taken out so that we can attach linings, which are these small pieces of willow that expand the surface of the edge to allow the top or bottom to be put on.
He's just gluing this thing on now. This is a completed rib cage. You can see the linings make it's a little bit thicker, so you can put the top on, glue it on there, and it's not just going to pop off.
So that's on a temporary back, and that'll stay on there to keep the form from shifting while we do the other process. And after that, you start carving a top. This is the way we do it. I mean, there's many different ways of doing it. You can see there's a top. That one right here.
Yeah, perfect. He's working on his purfling.
So this is Neil Clausen's top. He's fitting purfling right now, which are inlaid pieces of ebony that we strip around the outside. He's doing it in the Stradivarius style, so there's bee stings being put in here, which are a little bit more intricate and take a little bit of time to do. So you start with a block, kind of like that.
I mean, this has been worked on a little bit, but it originally starts as 2 pieces of wood, and you just plane it down and work on it for God, how long did we work on it? 3 weeks or so, probably 3 or 4 weeks, at least 3 or 4 weeks, yeah.
And then
Exactly.
after you, this is it's a rough cut stage like this. And then after you get to this, you start, you flip it over, you start doing the graduations on the other side. I think some people think that violins are formed by steaming a piece of wood. It's actually all hand carved. So this is Mason Yordi. He's from the Isleta Pueblo. He is right now starting to graduate the inside, where he's been taking out sort of, we drill press in guideline holes, and then you dig with a gouge, one of these hand tools, and take out the outside. And then he's carved his F holes in, or is starting to carve his F holes now. And then after that, you build a bass bar. I don't know if we can show you a bass bar because all of ours are glued on temporary back, but then the top goes on. This is Ansel's right here. And the top gets glued on, and then you start the neck and the scroll, which are these blocks here, which start as a solid piece of wood, a solid rectangle, and get joined down. The difficult part here, I feel, is mostly inside the peg box, trying to make sure that everything is aligned straight. And this is where you'll get the most problems with physical pieces of wood breaking, because there's a lot of tension from the strings on these pieces.
Here's an example of one that just started. We use a template to go across, mark where the scroll will be, drill the holes for the pegs, and then it just works down from here to get to there, and then you're a little bit farther along than I am.
Yeah, and from there on out, it's all eye work, trying to make sure that the barrels are level, that they're even, that there's good straight lines, that there's a nice curvature inside the plane of the box, so that you can't, so it disappears as the goal, so everything disappears when you're looking at it either from the front or from the back. Yeah, and then we knock that. Does that go on? Does back go on first, or do we put the neck on?
Neck goes on first,
Neck goes on
because
first.
what actually happens is when you put the neck in, the form, the rib cage, ends up bending a little bit, because there's a whole lot of pressure going in when you put a neck in, and that being so, you can't complete the back first because the rib cage will bend a little bit, and if you were to complete the back first, then it wouldn't match up perfectly. So you put the neck in, and then you complete the back to form around the new bending of the rib cage, I guess, is the best way to put it.
And then Giselle, I don't know if she has anything here, but she just finished back. Oh, she already glued it?
I didn't know that. I thought she was working on it still.
Well, she's already attached hers, so this is Giselle's work. This is one of my favorite violins in the shop right now. It's beautiful. It's just really well done. And then you actually get to hear it for the first time. And that's like the best sound you could ever hear. But it doesn't sound like a violin, but it sounds great.
That's what we're shooting for.
And her scroll work is immaculate. I mean, there's no the edges of the walls of the barrels hitting the floor. There's no roughing. You can't see. I mean, some people like to see gouge marks. I personally don't. But I think it's beautiful. You know, it's just really well done. And she'll take this back to the Pueblo with her. She's in a unique position because she's one of the only females in her Pueblo aren't allowed to play instruments. They can dance in ceremonies, but they're not allowed to play the instruments. And so she's actually taking one that she's made back to the Pueblo and going to teach how to make violins. It's very revolutionary, you know. But yeah, that's kind of the whole process.
Nearly, I guess the last thing that you actually have to do, it took her, I think, 6 semesters total to get to this point, and then the last thing you have to do, this is in the white, as we call it, which means it's about to be varnished. It's completed, but the last stage is varnishing, which takes another couple weeks, and that's making the violin go from in the white to, looking, like a actual violin where you put this alcohol varnish on.
I think she's planning on doing oil varnish.
Is she gonna do oil varnish?
And we're gonna nerd out this summer and go over to Doc's house and have a varnish party where we actually make all these varnishes, because we're not allowed to make them on campus because they're kind of volatile. But it's gonna be a lot of fun to sit and see the process, because he makes varnish that's very traditional. I mean, Cremonese, Italian, 1700s traditional varnish. So it'll be fun to see that process. Yeah. Anything else you have to say?
I think that's it.
The only thing we're missing is the apprenticeship thing. Is that the manner of the shop is created is that we're supposed to help each other learn. So Doc is here as kind of sort of a background guide. He's the master builder, and he'll definitely, he keeps keeps us in shape and he makes sure that we're doing everything to a good standard. But we learned a lot from our classmates, from people who have been here for longer than we have, that, like Ryan feeding on the other side, who does everything by hand. So he's on his third violin now, or fourth?
He's
fourth.
just finished his third, yeah.
And so he can teach us how to build a little bit better. Yeah. That's the show.
Thank you, Seth.
Well, thanks, guys.
Yeah, thank you very much.